Hello, in this video I will show how to create an offline first to-do app. In this app you can create new items, you can see the items, you can edit the items, and you can remove the item. All of these work with and without internet, and here I'm using Angular with Ionic, with PouchDB and CouchDB. If you like, please subscribe and let's see how to do this. The first thing we should have in our machine is Node.js. So if you don't have Node, you can go in the browser and search for Node.js. You can go in the first link and you see this page from Node and showing how to install. So you can go here, click in download Node.js, and you can proceed after that. So when you finish installing, you can go back in your terminal and put node-v, and you see the version of the node in your machine. The second thing we should have is Ionic CLI to help us create the application. So if you don't have Ionic CLI, you can go in search for Ionic CLI. Go in the first link and you see the command for installing. You can put in your terminal again, and after that, if you type Ionic -v, you see the version of Ionic already installed. So yeah, now we can start creating the application. So we can use the Ionic CLI to help us. The Ionic CLI provides many commands. One example is the command for create new application. The command is Ionic new, Ionic start, sorry. So the Ionic CLI will make some questions. Use the app create wizard, no. Framework Angular. Project name can be to-do list. Template can be the blank. ng modules or standalone. I will select ng modules. Now we have to wait this part. After the installation of our project, Ionic will ask if we want to create an account. I will choose no, and that's it. Now we can open our project with VS Code. So I will open. I put a window here. Open the project and open here my project. So yeah, now we can open a new terminal and type Ionic start to start our project. Sorry, my mistake. It's not Ionic start, it's Ionic serve. Okay, so the project it's here, it's open, it's working. It's a blank project in the beginning. And now the second thing that we need is external database, and you use CouchDB, like I said. So uh, you have two options. You can install CouchDB in your machine. So you can go in couchdb.apache.org and download this software and install the database in your machine, or you can already use an external service to provide this database for you. And I will choose this second option. I use the service called railway.app. So here you can create your virtual service for free. You can create an account if you don't have. So I will create an account here and go back soon. Now my account is already created. So here in this dashboard, we can click in new project and search for CouchDB. And after that, this platform will ask us to connect with GitHub. And I will do that. After that, we will see some details of our new project, like the repository details, volume, and environments variables. We can deploy. And wait for this deploy. Now that the database is already deployed, we can open it. And the database will ask us to put the username and the password. These informations will be here in variables. So we can copy here. The user is admin and password is this value. Okay, so now we are logged in inside the database, and we can go inside the tools of this database. So we have to put dash utils before the URL. And here we will see this basic database. Database for users, replicator, and global change. Users is for users to log in. Replicator is for database backup, and global change is configurations. Okay, so the database is already created, it's working. Now we can go back to our project and start some code to connect with this database. We have to install some packages for connection between our project and database. We will install CouchDB and PouchDB packages. So the first is PouchDB, so npm install PouchDB. And yeah, so if we go here in package.json, we will see that PouchDB is already installed. And now we can connect PouchDB with CouchDB with this package. Another configuration that we have to do is set the global window variable here in source in polyfill.ts. This is some special configuration to PouchDB work with Angular. So is window as can be any for the moment global. So window as any window global equal window. And yeah, so it's configured, and now we can start using this PouchDB here. The first thing that I will do is create some folders and some files here in my project. The project start with this home page. If we go here in app routing, we will see that the path home go to this home module. I will remove this folder, this page, and I will remove this route here in app routing, and I will create a new page. So I use Ionic generate page, and the page can be to-do. And yeah, now we have the to-do page. I removed the home page, and now we have this path, this route here in our app routing, and I will redirect the app when start to this to-do path. So if we go back in our app, when we open, we go directly for the to-do. Okay, now we have this component for the to-do list, and I will create a service to provide the data for this component. And so I use Ionic generate service, and I will put here inside to do, and can be the name to-do.service, to-do dash to-do. Yeah, so now we have this to-do service. So now we have the service, the component, and the module. Okay, so let's begin using the service to provide the data for us. So the first thing that we need to do is provide the properties for this service. So the first property is the database, the local database, so we can name it local db as any. We have to put our array of to-do items, so can be to-dos, and I use some interface here, an array of this interface to-do. I don't have yet this to-do interface, so I will create here inside the to-do folder. So new file, to-do dot yes, and I will export this interface. And this to-do will have some ID in a string and a name for the moment. Okay, so now we have the interface. We can import here, and the Angular, the TypeScript is saying that this property don't have an initializer, so we can go here and put to receive null. At the moment it's not working, so let me see here. Let's go to the tsconfig. Here inside our compiler options, let's say that we want to strict null checks as false. I'll save. Yeah, and now we can work in this way. Okay, so now we have our TypeScript configured. We can go back to our service. And start to create the methods. The first method that I will create is the initializer of the database, local database and remote database. So this method can be init db, and I will say that this local db will receive a new instance of PouchDB, and I have to put here the name of the database that we want to create in our local browser. So I have to import PouchDB here, so I will import PouchDB from PouchDB. Let me see. Okay. Could not found a declaration file for module. I have to install this types PouchDB. So let's install. And now the TypeScript is saying that we need to use this allow systemic defaults imports. So let's go back to this tsconfig and let's say allow synthetic defaults imports as true. Okay, so now everything is okay. Now we have our local database already created. Let's now create our remote database. So I will create a new const, name it remote db, and this will receive a new instance of PouchDB. But now we will put the URL from the external database that we want to use. And we need to go back here in our PouchDB external, CouchDB, sorry, and copy this URL. This is the same provided here. So we can copy this URL, put here, and now in the second parent we need to send another informations, like we want to fetch this URL and send some authentication information. So I use the fetch method using the URL or request and the options. For the moment can be any. Okay, so now here inside you can use the environment variables that we used before when we access the database in the browser. So we have the login, that is admin. I don't know if you remember. We have the password. I don't remember. So can we go back here in the Railway app and copy the password. The port is the default, is 5984. So this is default for CouchDB. So we don't need to use this. For the moment. And with the login and the password, we need to create the token to make the requests. So I will create a new const token, and I use this native JavaScript method to create a token, a basic token. So passing login plus 2 points plus password. So now we have our basic auth token, and now we can use in the options here. So options dot readers set, we set the authorization, and the authorization will be basic plus our token. And after that I will return my PouchDB instance. So PouchDB fetch URL and the options. Yeah, so now we have our local database. Our local database don't need authentication because is in the local machine, in the local mobile or local browser. And we have our remote database that needs authentication because it is an external service. And now we need to say to PouchDB that we want to synchronize these two databases. So I will say, please PouchDB, I need to my local database sync with my remote DB and passing some information. like live true and retry false. And that's it. Now we have a method that initialize our remote database and local database. For the moment, we are passing the login and password in the code, but this is not a good practice. I'm doing this just for initial purpose. So in the future, we will create some authentication. We can do this, create some authentication for our app to use this login and password in a dynamic way. Okay. The second method that we can create now is a method for get all of the to-do items for us. So let's create some method. Call it can be get all, and I will say something like, if we don't have already our to-dos list implemented, created, so if we don't have these to-dos, I will do something, and this is we will return our local DB with remote DB because it's syncing. We will get all the docs including the docs true, then we will get the docs here, and inside the docs I will get the rows, and the rows will be an array. Okay, now we are getting the docs, and I will say something like this to-dos will receive these docs rows mapping, and inside each row the type of this row will have something like, we can have the doc, for the moment can be any, and we will get the row doc, because the unique thing that we need is the doc inside the row, so it's doc inside a doc. Okay, so now we have to say for our application that something happens, changes in our application. So we need to say for our local database that something have modified. So I will say for this local DB, I will use the method change, passing an object with live true, sync now, again include docs true, and when we do this I will call the method on change. This is from PouchDB. I will call another method that I will create. This method can be on database change, I don't have this method yet, but after call it this method, I return these to-dos. And if I already have this to-dos list, so else I will return a promise resolving this to-dos list. Okay, so let's create this on database change. So on database change, receiving the change, and let's say something like when something changes in our application, in our to-do list, we need to know what is going on. If we are removing some item, if we are adding some item or updating some item. So I will get with this change, because in this change property you see in the future we will receive the information of this item that we are changing. So the first thing we need to find what item we are changing in our database. So let's find this item first of all, and let's create some method here in private, because we use just here inside find index, passing the ID of this to do string, and let's say the to do index will be this to do's find index to do when to do dot id is equal this id that I'm passing here in method params. After we find the to do index, I will return the index. Okay, now that we have this method already created, we can go back in our on database change and let's use. So let's say let's create some variable index receiving this find index for us for this change.id that we are receiving here. Okay, now that we have this index, let's find our to-do. So the to-do is this to-dos in the index position. Okay, so now we have the to-do located, and let's find out if we are changing, removing, or doing something. So if the change is deleting, so deleted, I will do something, deleted. In another case, let's see. So if is changing, and if we have the to-do located, I will splice this to-do. So these to-dos splice the index, so the position 1. So we are removing this to-do from this to-dos list. If we are not removing, let's say that we need to say if we are updating or creating a new to-do. So if we find out the to-do and we have this to-do ID and the to-do ID is equal to this change dot ID, we will put these to-dos, this to-do in the position, in the right position. So in the index we receive this change, this document change. If no, we need to insert this to-do. So these to-dos splice index position 0 change doc. Okay, so now is this, we are when something change in your database, we will find out this to do. If we are removing, we will remove from the to do, and if it is operating or creating, we are inserting in our to-dos list. And yeah, so now the last thing that we need to do here in our service is create 3 simple methods. One for save, receiving the to-do ID, another for update, receiving to-do, the same, and another for remove. When we are saving, we just say let's return this local DB posting the to-do, the update is not post but is put, and remove is remove. Simple like that. And okay, so everything is looking great here. Now we can go back in our component and start using this service. So let's go back, and here I will inject this service. So it will be the name to-do service. Let's receive this to-do service. Let's save here, and let's go back in our page. So we are receiving this warning. We can ignore this for the moment. We are injecting our service, and let's start some code here. Okay, so here in this engine on init, this is a method from lifecycle from Angular. This method is called when this component is started. So let's begin for here. Here I will start our database. So let's inject our service, database service. Private to-do service from to-do service, and let's go. So this to-do service, let's init our DB, and after that we can get our documents. So to-do service, the method is the getOut to get documents, and then we will receive the to-dos. Let's import the interface to use as a type here. And let's say that we receive these to-dos here in our component. So we don't have these to-dos, to-do array yet. Let's create here. So to-dos is a to-do array. So to-do, these to-dos, we receive the to-dos from the service. And let's console.log these to-dos if we are getting right here. If something goes wrong, let's catch here the error. For the moment can be any other type. And let's console.log this error if happens. Yeah, so let's save and see in our browser if something is going wrong. So yeah, here we are receiving IAMS array because we don't have to-do items yet, but at the same time we are receiving this CORS error. This can be fixed going in the CouchDB configuration here, and go in CORS configuration and enable CORS. So enable CORS for all domains. Okay, now if we go back and refresh, now the error from CORS is it's not happen anymore, but now we are receiving this another error. It's called not found. Database does not exist from the remote database from CouchDB. This is because we don't have this to-do database yet created in our remote database. So let's go back to the CouchDB, go to the database, and let's create this database. So here we can click here, create database. The name is to-do, like we say it here in the to-do service. So another thing that I forget is I passed the link from the remote database, but I forgot to say what database is. So here, after the URL, the remote database, let's say that I want to use this to-do database. So I will put here, go back to the CouchDB and create some database with the same name, to-do. Create. And yeah, now we have this to-do database. Now we have this to-do path here. Let's save the service and let's go back to our project. So if I reload, I will see that now I don't have errors anymore, and we are receiving this empty array because we don't have to-do items yet. Let's create some items here in our to-do database. So let's create some document. The ID is already filled, and the name can be, for example, test1. So let's create this document, test1, and if I go back now, it's like the changed method called when I put the item here, but I'm receiving this file index. It's not a function. Let me see. So on database change, this find index private strange. Let me refresh. Now I'm receiving here this test2, this test1. Let's create another document like name test2. Great. Error change function. This find index is not a function. To-do service. Strange. Let me see. Let me see here. Okay, the error is because this method on change, on database change, is not written in an arrow function. So the solution is just create a private method on database change using the arrow function. So change any. Now if we save, here we have just 2 items. I will create the test3. And now we don't have this error anymore. And if I refresh, I will see that I have 3 items from our remote database. So yeah, so the listing of the items is working. Let's go back to the another methods. So the next method can be the creation of the to-do. So on create new to-do, and I will say something like when I'm saving, I will ask if this to-do that I'm creating or updating have some ID. I will create this to-do item for creation or update purpose. So if I don't have this to-do ID, it's because I'm creating a new to-do. So I will call the to-do serves, use the save method, passing the to-do, this to-do, and then I can do something, and if something goes wrong, I will do the same for fetch. I will catch the log. If I have the to-do ID, it's because I'm updating. So else, the same, but calling the update method from the to-do service. So now we have this basic method for our to-do form. We can create another method for open this form for us in our component. So here we don't have we have nothing at the moment. Let's say that we want to create the list here to show the to-dos, the button for open our form, and let's do this. So here we can start removing this, and let's say something like first we need some list. So Ionic provide for us this component ion list to listing items. Inside this I will put this, I will do a ng4 to loop these items. So I use the ng4 using the let to do our to-dos, and here inside I use the ion label. All of these components is from Ionic, is native from Ionic. Is the name right? To do name. And here after the to-do list I will put some button to create new items. So I use the ion fab to use this button in the bottom. Here in ion fab I put the slot fixed, the vertical position is in the bottom, and the horizontal is in the end. So here inside I will put some button, ion fab button, when I click I will call some method like on create new to do, on open new to do is better, on open to do form. This method is not created yet, so let's create here, and let's put inside here some icon like ion icon. Let's use the add icon. So if we save here and go back to our app, we will see this list of the items that we created here in the database, external database, and we have this button in the bottom to create new items. And let's use this button to create new items. So when I click in this button, I want to open some kind of form, modal form, to create or edit some item. So let's create here in our component template some kind of Ionic model. So ion model, and this model is open when our property is to do form open is true. We don't do this property here yet, so let's create is a boolean receiving false. when start the component. And here inside the model, let's create some ng template. Some header. Inside the header, a toolbar. And inside the toolbar, some buttons. Ion button. Ion buttons I will put in the start, right side, left side actually. The first button is for go back, so I will say something like is to do form open false. I will set as a false. This button can have the name cancel. Another thing inside the toolbar is the title of this model. I use the Ion title, and I will say something like if the to do in a editing way have the ID, it's because I'm adding. Else, it's because it's a new item. Edit or new to do. Let's put after the title another buttons, so but in the end side, in the right side now, the name can be confirm, and when click I will call that method on create new to do. Actually the name is better if it's on save to do, so let's rename this method on save to do. Ion toolbar. Okay, it's because I have to put this. The L is Ion toolbar. Okay, after the reader, we can put the content of this model. Ion content. I will put some padding here, so I use the Ionic class helper, Ion padding. I put some padding here inside to use my input. Ion adding, and here Ion input. The label can be the name. The placeholder can be to do name, and the ng model is the to do dot name. Now, if I go here in our component, let's say when I click here on open to do form, I want to open this to do form model. So I will say something like this to do from this component we receive an empty ID and an empty name, and after that this dot is to do form open, we receive true to open our model form. Let's save. And actually, let's go back. Now, when I click here in the plus button, I will open the form. So now we have this cancel button. When I click the model close, and when clicking confirm, the model will create the item. But after create or save update, we need to close the model. So let's say after save this to do open form will receive false. The same for update. Okay, so now let's go back and let's try. So if I click plus, put the name for the new to do can be test 4 because the test 1, 2, 3 is already created. Let's confirm. And now we have created this test 4, the model close, and our database service create the test 4 in the local database and in the remote database. So if we refresh here, we see that we have the test 4. And here in our browser, in our local database, if we go in the application, we see that we have this inside the IndexedDB, the to-do database. And now we can create the function for update and for delete. So if we want to update some item, we need to click in this item, open the form, change what we need and save to update. So let's go back to the code in here in the to-do list. Inside the to-do item, let's put some click to call the some method can be on edit item, passing the item. Let's create this method. This method will receive the to-do, and we will say something like this, but now is this to-do will receive this to-do, and after that let's open the to-do form open. Let's set the is to do from open as true. Let's save and let's see. So if I go in this test 2, I will open, I will fill this to do, open the form, let's update, confirm, save, the model close, and the item is already updated. So if I go in this to-do database, the item 2 is updated. And if we want to delete, I will call a different method like on remove item, and I will say this to-do serves remove this to-do selected, and here in the template, let's say in the bottom of the form, let's put some Actually, let's put here side by side the confirm method. Let's create a method, a click, call it for remove item, and I will put here some icon like icon, the name trash, and I will replace this with save. Let's see if it's working. So now if I open this model, I have the remove button and the save button. So if I click remove, actually I forgot to close the model. So after remove, I need to use to do form open as a false. So yeah, if I open the test tree, remove, I remove the test tree. So if I go like here, I don't have the test tree anymore, just test 1 and test 4. And if I create back, for example, the test 2, I have the test 2, and I can update. And that's it. So I will put this code in the GitHub. The link will be here in the description of this video. If you like it, this video, please subscribe. And if this video have some visualizations, I can be in the future create some authentication for this application. So here in the to-do service, we don't need anymore to pass the login and password fixed to our variables. We can do this in the dynamic way. So each user from our application will receive some login and password, and this login password will be using to fetch the data. And that's it. So thank you so much for watching, and see you. Bye bye.